and welcome to my channel. My name is Katie Elizabeth and this is my first ever YouTube video. Hopefully this could be an exciting new journey for me and I could post videos not only I enjoy but you guys enjoy as well. Today we are going to be talking about the case of Angela Tramonte. I find this case to be very upsetting. They closed the case so fast that there should have been more investigation than what there was. And Angela's loved ones are still trying to see justice to this day. I do want to mention that I am going to be going off the timeline that was given by ABC 15, as well as what I found and what some of Angela's loved ones have given to me. Anyways, let's get into the video. Angela Noel Tramonte was a beautiful 31-year-old born on September 25, 1989. She was born in Melrose Hospital, lived in Saugus almost her entire life, and in 2018 she moved to Winthrop. All three are located in Massachusetts. Her parents are Nancy Lanzelli Tramonte and Pasquale aka Pat P. Tramonte. She has one sister named Amanda, and she has 7 chosen sisters. I thought I should mention that because those 7 ladies meant a lot to Angela. And she was a dog mom to Dolce. Her father sadly passed away on May 12, 2018. And her mom never remarried but has a boyfriend named Edward, aka Eddie Dio of Peabody. I don't know when Nancy and Eddie met. Family and friends described Angela as a colorful person. She was a kind, strong, good-hearted woman who would do anything for anyone. She loved to work out, loved to dance, and loved food. She lived a very healthy, active lifestyle. She would wake up early every morning to go to the gym. She did weekly meal planning, was obsessed with drinking water, and loved to walk her dog every day. Angela worked as a receptionist at First Cambridge Realty for the past 7 years. On July 29, 2021, Angela flew to Arizona to meet Dario Dizdar after 2 months of talking online via Instagram. Once Angela landed in Arizona, Dario took her back to his apartment and spent the night. July 30, 2021, they woke up the next morning and at 8:51 a.m. they arrived at Snooze AM Eatery for breakfast. The article from ABC 15, it reads, "During breakfast, Angela talked about how she wanted to hike Camelback Mountain. She began conducting internet searches to see if the trail was open and provided the address to the Echo Canyon trailhead. I contacted Snooze AM Eatery myself, and I got in touch with a lady. I don't know her position there, but I do know she is the one that looked at the surveillance video of Angela and Dario having breakfast. That surveillance video is not released to the public. I was told that Angela and Dario came in for approximately 50 minutes, but further on into the conversation, we learned that they were only there for 30 minutes. So it was a very quick breakfast. Angela was wearing a light pink shirt and black athletic shorts, and she was on her phone quite a bit. The next thing that was told was what Angela and Dario had. Angela had a water and Dario had a coffee, and one of them had an omelet, and she wasn't for sure what the rest of the breakfast order was. The server didn't find anything odd between the two, neither did the lady that was looking at the surveillance video. She said everything looked positive and it looked like 2 people that were just enjoying a healthy breakfast. The last thing is I asked what time did Angela and Dario enter the building and what time did they leave. She said that they entered the building at 8:51 a.m. and they left at 9:21 a.m. So again, it was a very quick breakfast. And that's all I have on when Angela and Dario came in for breakfast. At 9:37 a.m., Dario apparently reported that he did not want to hike Camelback. Instead, suggested the trail Thunderbird. In the screenshot that I'm going to show you, it clearly shows that Dario is the one that is mentioning Camelback, and Angela is just questioning about the trail. Dario said the Camelback Mountain is the best, but it's always so crowded. Camelback Trail is very difficult with some moderate sections. In many areas, you'll be using hands and feet to crawl up and down over boulders. Angela replied with, "That's so cool, lol. I never climbed a mountain, lol. Do you have to do that with the mountain you go to now and crawl up but less difficult? He replied with, no, it's not difficult unless you run. Now, if Dario did mention Thunderbird, you would think it would be in Angela's recent search history, just like Camelback was, because she was unfamiliar with it, and they mentioned it. So it makes you wonder if Dario did mention Thunderbird to her. At 9:53 a.m., they arrived at the Echo Canyon trailhead. Angela took videos of the mountain and trail from the parking lot. They began their hike at 10 o'clock a.m. and arrived at the Prairie Monk lookout of the trail. During the start of the hike and arriving at the Prairie Monk, Angela took 7 photos and videos, and Dario took 1. I only have 1 of the 7 photos of Angela, and it's a short boomerang. Now I'm going to stop there for a moment and tell you a little bit about who Dario Dizdar is. Dario Dizdar has been a member of the Phoenix PD for 14 years. He has been part of the Phoenix Police Department since August 27, 2007. In 2009, Dario was in a lot of trouble. In this police report right here, it says, on September 5, 2009, at 1:55 a.m., Dario was a patron at Sangria Lux Lounge in the city of Glendale when he was approached by a Glendale police officer. He questioned Dario about his friend who had allegedly been assaulted earlier outside the bar. Dario was not a witness nor was present at the time it occurred. Dario did identify himself as a Phoenix police officer and then provided a false name and date of birth to the Glendale officer. It also shows that he provided an incorrect phone number for the victim to the same Glendale officer. Dario notified his supervisor 10 hours later at the beginning of his next shift and apologized to and cooperated with a Glendale detective assigned to investigate the assault and a related incident. Dario also admitted to investigators from the Professional Standards Bureau that he gave false information to the Glendale officer investigating the incident. The detective accepted his apology and he was able to continue his shift. He was disciplined and placed on the Maricopa County Attorney's Office, the Brady List, who they find concerning because of past misconduct. Dario is still on the Brady List to this day. If you are not familiar with what the Brady List is, officers with a history of dishonesty, criminal activity, and other integrity concerns. On May 23, 2022, it's been reported that the Phoenix Police Department has the most officers on a Brady List, with over 1,800 past and current law enforcement officers. Hundreds of officers are still on the force. At 10:36 a.m., a witness and a group of friends are hiking ahead of Angela and Dario. One of them takes this photo, which shows neither Angela or Dario to have any water in their possession. Now I decided to take a closer look at the photo, and that's when it looked like Angela was holding something. I downloaded an app that makes a blurry picture more clear, and that's when it looked like Angela was holding a black water jug. Now, I could be wrong, it could be literally nothing, but I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on this photo. What do you guys see? Because I would really like to know. When that photo was taken of Angela and Dario, it's been reported that they completed approximately 3/4 of the hike to the summit. She was almost there. Take a look at what ABC 15 has said when they retraced her steps.
Or it might be
just up.
Is it that Saguaro with the 5?
That's what I was just wondering, yeah. So that's what I was noticing.
26.
She made it really, really far.
She was there already.
By really, really far, just means almost to the top.
This is our home. So for that tragedy to happen here, and for someone that was local and claimed to be a regular hiker to not have made smarter decisions,
I mean,
for
a police
guest,
officer.
A police officer at that.
Stay with your partner.
You have a guest with you that's not used to the trail, you stay with them.
Stay with your partner.
Because you have a commitment to make sure they get off this mountain.
Dario reported that Angela did not want to continue because the upcoming trail appeared very hard. Now, there's been a lot of things that have been said about this. She was feeling ill, that's why she didn't want to keep on continuing. She asked him to continue to the top to take pictures for her Instagram. She stated she would head back down and meet him at the car. She encouraged him to go on walking without her and was supposed to meet back at 1 p.m. He said she got overheated. He told her to head back down and he would see her after he climbed to the top. In this statement, it reads, "He got the pictures and showed me where there were multiple people sitting at the top. Once he got to the top, there were approximately 10 people up there." She said she would meet him back down by his car. She did not have any water or bags with her, just her cell phone. He said she was wearing a black tank top, black shorts, and black and white tennis shoes. Dario was unsure if Angela had ever hiked before. He handed me her Massachusetts license to gather her information and provided me with her cell phone number. Her purse was still in the car. He reported that Angela showed no signs of exhaustion or distress, which would lead him to believe that she was unable to make it back to the parking lot. He stated if he observed any signs of exhaustion or stress in Angela, that he would never left her alone to walk back down the trail to the car. 10:38 a.m. through 11:27 a.m. Angela began descending the trail at 10:38 a.m. She descended off towards the Echo Canyon Bowl neighborhood north of the trail. Regular hikers find it unlikely that Angela descended off trail at 10:38 a.m., less than 2 minutes after the pair separated. Before she went off trail, a witness reported seeing Angela walking alone. This is a screenshot of a witness that saw and talked to Angela. It says he remembers seeing Tramonte earlier and asked how she was doing when they passed on the trail. Tramonte responded, "It's too freaking hot, I'm turning around. We didn't bring any water today." He also said Tramonte did not appear to be in serious trouble and was in relatively good spirits. She did not ask for any water or help, he said. She continued down the hillside towards the home south of the residential yards until she reached 5200 East Luna Drive at approximately 11:09 a.m. Fire department search team member believed that Angela went off trail much lower on the mountain. No phone calls, text messages, or any other communications were made on her cellular device in her possession. Dario begins descending the trail at approximately 10:58 a.m. He descended off trail towards Echo Canyon neighborhood north of the trail. A separate timeline compiled by Phoenix Police stated that Dario got off trail at 11:20 a.m. He continues down the hillside towards the homes at 11:27 a.m. Dario messages Angela saying that he is lost. At 11:39 a.m., Dario was observed on surveillance video walking alone in the backyard of the residence located at 5623 North 52nd Place. He continued to walk through the neighborhood and was walking in front of the residence located at 5303 East San Miguel Avenue. Dario used the map on his phone to look up his location and where the parking lot is at where he was supposed to meet Angela. He learned it was a 20-minute walk. He used an Uber app to see if there was a car close by and how long it would take. This is a screenshot of where he called the Uber and where Angela is located at. He hailed an Uber and was picked up at 11:50 a.m., returning to the parking lot of the Echo Canyon Trailhead at 11:54 a.m. I've also been told that the reason why Dario called an Uber was to look for Angela. At 11:54 a.m., once he arrived at the parking lot, he discovered her belongings were still in the car. He was unable to locate her and began walking up the trail towards the Praying Monk lookout. He attempted to call Angela multiple times via Instagram, normal voice calling, and sent text messages between 12:24 p.m. and 12:52 p.m. However, in these screenshots right here made by two witnesses that saw him that day have said something completely different. My friends and I were hiking on Camelback at the same time Angela went missing. I have reached out to the Scottsdale and Phoenix Police Department to provide information about her partner's strange behavior. and neither of them were interested enough to talk to me. They told me to call a silent witness if I had a tip that I needed to share, which I believe is due to the fact that the man she was with is a police officer. We ended our hike around 12 o'clock, and the boyfriend was at the base of the mountain. He asked us if we had seen a girl with the black shorts and black top on our way down. We thought it was weird because he had finished the hike shortly before us, and if he didn't see her, then why would we? We also found it odd that he was having casual conversations with other park visitors and standing around without any sense of urgency. We commented to each other how strange it was that he wasn't hiking back up the mountain to find her, like any decent man would do in the same situation. He also thought it was important to tell us that the girl wasn't his girlfriend. It was someone he barely knew from out of town, who didn't have much hiking experience. My friends and I thought about calling the cops before her body was found, simply because the man was acting so strangely. I hope that foul play wasn't involved, but at the very least the man should be held accountable for his lack of concern and disregard for this woman's life, especially if he is a police officer. This post is made by a witness that hiked the same day that Angela and Dario did. He says, just overall, I'm bothered by the fact that she was missing. He didn't hike back up the trail to find her. He was having conversations about European soccer with other visitors. After we got into the Uber, my friends and I all looked at each other and said, he did something to her. At 12:52 p.m., Dario speaks with the park ranger. The fire department receives a call from him at 1 p.m. stating that the reason why he is calling is because he cannot find Angela. Air units are called in at approximately 1:10 p.m. He told investigators that he was unfamiliar with the trail and had gotten lost. Yet, a fire department spokesperson had reportedly said that he hiked this trail all the time from the top to the bottom. Fire officials later confirmed that they had misunderstood him. But soon after that happened, the park ranger from earlier came forward stating that Dario told him that he was a local and did this hike all the time. At 3:31 p.m., Officer J. Reed got in touch with one of Angela's loved ones, who was sending him pings of her approximate locations. I wanted to see if the Find My iPhone was accurate, and it is. It's the same accuracy as the GPS accuracy of the device. If the GPS on the iPhone can't obtain a good signal, it may use Wi-Fi triangulation, which will reduce the accuracy. The first ping was at 3:31 p.m. It showed near 5318 East McDonald Drive. It turned out to be an empty dirt lot with no sign of Angela. At 3:39 p.m., the second ping changed locations on the west side of 5200 East Lona Drive, with the majority of the location on the east side of the mountain. The officers attempted to contact homeowners in the area. They were unsuccessful. At approximately 4:18 p.m., the third ping showed near 5302 East Polo Verde Drive. Officer Smoosh and Officer J. Reed turned to the property and began checking the area again. At 4:40 p.m., Officer Smoosh found the backyard of the home located at 5200 East Lona Drive. At the base of Camelback Mountain was the body of 31-year-old Angela Tramonte. She was found in the rear walkway of the residence, lying on her back with her arms sticking straight out and her legs slightly bent. Signs of lividity and rigor mortis have already begun. Definition of lividity: reddish to bluish purple discoloration of the skin due to the settling and pooling of blood following death. Example: body was contorted for 4 to 5 hours after death, which shows that Angela's body was lying behind that house for 4 to 5 hours. Rigor mortis is the medical term for what happens to a body after death. Its muscle and joints become very stiff. Every single muscle in the body is affected by rigor mortis. She was already mostly purplish in color and her muscles were stiff. Officer Smoosh began CPR chest compressions. No traumatic injuries were seen on Angela when she was found. At 4:43 p.m., Angela was pronounced deceased by Phoenix Police Department. That day, the temperature reached 105 where Angela was found. Firefighters believe that she might have lost sight of the trail and was headed towards nearby homes for help. They think she was trying to alert someone and was struggling before she collapsed. Captain Ron McCain said, "She could have been in the early stages of heat exhaustion, and heat stroke will make you become delirious. And unfortunately, your facility's not about you." The Phoenix Fire Department, however, confirmed that Dario did mention that he was a police officer to emergency responders when Angela was found. Later on, Ron McCain was interviewed by news crews, and this is what he had to say.
So we were being told that she's from Boston and that they arrived here yesterday afternoon. This is her first full day. She's never been here before.
But he's from the Phoenix area.
Yeah, he is from here. He is originally from another country. He's been living here for a while, he said, and he's very familiar with this mountain. Says he hikes it at this time of day all the time from the top to the bottom. She was feeling a little bit overheated. He tells her to turn around, go back down to the parking lot. He continues up to the peak, makes his way up to the top, comes all the way back down to the parking lot. She's not here. Fortunately, it is now a death investigation, so I can't get too far into the weeds of exactly how we found her and where we found her, but I can tell you it was very close to the mountain, and it did appear as if she was trying to alert somebody at a nearby home. It's a dangerous mountain. If you were to really look at it like a ski mountain, this is a double diamond, and it says it on the trail. It's an expert level hike, especially with the conditions. Another reminder of just how
How do you die from exposure to the elements? Tissue damage to the nervous and cardiovascular system occurs when the core temperature rises above 109 degrees Fahrenheit. Phoenix authorities don't believe that foul play was involved. While investigating, they did not find anything suspicious about Angela's death. A news reporter interviewed one of the Phoenix police officers about this incident, and this is what she had to say.
A lot of people are wondering, he is a Phoenix police officer, he's in public safety. Wouldn't he know better than to leave somebody on that trail when it's that hot, especially if she was suffering from any sort of heat exhaustion? What's your response to that?
I think that I don't want to sound like it's easy to make that assumption, but we just don't know. We weren't there yet. We weren't there with them. We don't know the type of conversations. And also, I don't know enough about their expertise in hiking or their physical abilities. That definitely is not something we want anyone to do, regardless of, what you do for a living.
Could there be any charges involved in this at all for either him or anybody else?
I can tell you that based on the evidence and on some of the information that has been learned by detectives, there is no indication that foul play is suspected at this time.
Phoenix Police Sergeant Ann Justice said, "All evidence points to this being a tragic accident. The investigation has been completed. Evidence is not typically available for release." She posted another statement saying, "The Phoenix Police Department is saddened by the death of Angela Tramonte. The investigation into this case has been extensive, consisting of, but not limited to, interviews, reviews of physical evidence, and an examination into cellular phone-related data. No criminal activity has been discovered, and all evidence points to this being a tragic accident. In addition to the investigation done by the Phoenix Police Department, the Maricopa County Office of the Medical Examiner has ruled this death as accidental. As a result of environmental heat exposure, our thoughts are with the friends and family of Angela Tramonte during this difficult time." I don't know when Angela's case was closed. While I was doing my research, I found out that the Phoenix Police Department closed her case without a public announcement or any charges were made. Now, after they closed it, they completely forgot about it. But Angela's loved ones have not forgot. Angela's mom and her chosen sisters have said how they don't feel right about the case, how they don't trust Phoenix police in their ability to investigate a case involving one of their own officers. They believe the department has failed to thoroughly investigate what happened and is protecting Dario. They find it suspicious that Angela died less than 24 hours after arriving to the state. I live in Phoenix and remember seeing this the evening it happened on the news. My immediate gut feeling was that it was a cover-up. No decent man would leave a woman mid-hike in heat distress or not alone, especially when she's from out of town and he's a trained police officer. I suppose he could be that stupid and it could possibly be accidental, if he wasn't trained specifically to help people. There should be a higher police authority investigating the Phoenix police who are obviously looking the other way on this one. After the tragic incident, Nancy Tramonte and Angela's chosen sisters decided it was time to tell their thoughts on the whole situation. Nancy is saying how everything is suspicious, how nothing is adding up, and she won't stop until she gets the answers she's looking for.
I feel it's a cover-up because he's a police officer, 14 years, but I don't believe it. For her to climb this trail without water does not make sense to me at all. What man allowed and she thought because he was a police officer, she was safe. And she wasn't. It took them 3 hours to find her. And when I talked to Dario that night and asked him, when was the last time you saw my daughter? He said 6 hours ago. So nonchalant. The police may not be investigating.
She made it a point to drink a whole gallon every day. So it's hard to believe that she would go on a hike in Arizona where it was 104 degrees that day and not drink any water.
My daughter was an Instagram person.
Frustrated because I lost the love of my life because of a person who's walking around right now and doesn't have a freaking care in the world. I need to find out the truth. I just need my questions answered, and no one wants to do that for me.
Angela's best friends are suspicious as well, stating, why didn't he do this, why didn't he do that if he's a so-called police officer and first responder, saying that they didn't think it was a good idea for her to fly out to see him.
Not even 24 hours, she's dead. Right. Why would you continue to walk back up? Knowing she'd be down there, she doesn't know anyone, she'd be by herself. Right. And it makes no sense. It does not make any sense. First responder, they're supposed to help people.
She was excited. She was a little nervous at first because she's never done this before.
She did know that she was going to go hiking. She has never gone hiking before. Anyone would have walked back down that mountain.
How do you not accompany somebody down when they're having a very hard time up the mountain, when she's exhausted? How do you have no disregard for somebody else's safety, especially when you're a police officer?
No, you never leave someone behind. He noticed her in any distress, or she even said, you know, I don't feel good, or I'm too hot, or I need water, anything. Doesn't matter. If she said that she was going back down that mountain, he should have brought her down to make sure that she got
We didn't think it was a good idea for her to go out there, but we never in a million years thought that this could ever happen.
Allowed her to walk down the rest of that mountain knowing she's never hiked before and she's never done anything like this, but he still allowed her, and him knowing the conditions and the heat and what that would do to a person, but you still allowed her to walk down that mountain alone. For someone who's never hiked before and he knew that, why would he take her to do that?
And then abandon her.
And then leave her alone. It makes no sense. And would
the fact that he didn't protect his guests who flew all the way to a different state to see him is just so alarming and surprising to us.
Angela was the most beautiful, kind-hearted, loving person. She always looked out for the safety of herself and for others.
All she wanted to do was help people, and she had a heart of gold. But she was that type of person that if you went into a nightclub, she would tell you to cover your drink.
Angela's best friends have also said that it's hard to imagine that she went out there wearing improper shoes and no water. It's been incredibly hard for Angela's best friends to cope knowing that she died alone. Remember when I mentioned Dario lied to officers back in 2009? Well, he's been a liar ever since he met Angela. Remember when I said that he brought Angela back to his apartment? In this screenshot that I'm going to show you, you can see that Angela's asking him if there's any ex-girlfriends that she has to worry about while she's there. And his response is that there's security there and how you need a key to get in the building. Angela said, "So when I come see you, do you have any ex-girlfriends I need to worry about? LOL. Is anyone going to come knocking at the door while I'm there?" Dario said, "You can't come into the building without keys. You need key for door and elevator, and there is a security guard 24/7 at the desk." Angela responded, "LOL, okay," and he responded back, "I live in a new unit. I moved from 16th to 9th floor just recently." Turns out, the apartment they were staying at wasn't even Dario's. It was his friend Gabriel Huss. It's been said that once all of this happened with Angela, Gabriel packed up all his things and moved out of the apartment that Angela and Dario stayed at for only one night. You're probably wondering, why did Dario lie? But some of you might already know. It's because Dario Dizdar has a wife and 2 kids that he still lives with to this day, even when he was seeing Angela. Now, Angela had no idea about Dario's secret life. If she did, she would not have contacted him in the first place. Neither did his wife know about Angela until this happened. His wife knows that he fools around with other women. Even if she told him how she felt, he's a very controlling and manipulative person who would still do it no matter what. One time, there was an incident where Dario got physical with his wife. They called the cops, but before the cops even showed up, he fled the scene. Once the cops showed up, they talked to the wife, and she filled out papers to press charges. She never went through with it. After that happened, there was a post where her and her cousin were joking about what happened. This is a picture that was posted on Instagram. In the pink box, it shows her cousin commenting, "This is a flashback," and Lily, Dario's wife, commented back with laughing faces. After the incident with what happened to Angela, Dario's wife's cousin came forward with 2 posts saying, "Knowing Dario Dizdar ruled accidental? Yes, how many accidents/mistakes does it take for a person to learn from his character flaws of carelessness, self-centeredness, and etc.? It takes the death of another human? No, he needs a psych evaluation rather than to be a police officer, let alone a father of 2, of a teen and preschooler, and a boyfriend, and on and off unhealthy relationship of 17 years with my cousin. Since 2009, he remains a heartless officer. I witnessed Dario physically abuse his girlfriend, and I walked up to him saying, "Get your hands off of her," while I held a high-heel shoe in my hand to defend myself, in case Dario decided to strike me too. My cousin dropped the charges, and now years later, it takes a woman to die for Dario to possibly be held accountable for his wrongful/careless behavior. After those were posted, Dario's wife messaged her cousin saying how that was uncalled for and how she took it too far by bringing up her kids. As you can see in this screenshot, after her cousin posted that, Lily decides to comment and say, "I am shocked you would make such a statement when you and I have barely spoken in years." In this screenshot message, her cousin said, "I found out by coming across these posts before I even read the news regarding Dario." And her reply back is, "And yet that's not even a source that has spoken to me. I'm not talking about what Dario did or didn't do. I have no involvement, nor should my name or my kids be mentioned. No media, no human knows any circumstances about me. At this point, it's all speculation. Nor did you reach out when you came across any posts, instead making false accusations about me and putting my kids' names out there. That in itself is absolutely wrong." Detectives never considered Dario of anything but more as a witness to Angela's case. After the incident, the Phoenix Police Department put Dario on a 10-day vacation during the investigation. While they did that, they hired a man the same day and was assigned to her case. A month later, he ruled no foul play. The last known video of Dario was on August 5, 2021, and there was a news crew outside of his workplace, which is the Phoenix Police Department, and they were just asking him about Angela and the incident. And all Dario had to say was that he already talked to a detective.
Then, a week later, this happened by chance. An ABC 15 news crew unexpectedly saw Dario walking into Phoenix PD headquarters.
I got my statement out.
I've also heard that the Phoenix Police Department was never supposed to take on the case. Instead, it was supposed to be the Paradise Valley Police Department, because Angela was found in the Paradise Valley neighborhood. But let me know if that's true or not. After waiting for a while, I finally got recorded audio of the interviews that were made during the investigation. I'm not going to put the recorded audio of the interviews in here, because they're not released to the public. I don't want to get flagged by doing that if I'm not allowed to in the first place, and I had to pay these to have access to them. Before we jump in, I want to give you guys a heads up. This is the longest thing in the video, but you don't want to miss what's going to be said. The longest one is with Dario and the detective. My friends and I were out in Phoenix for a bachelor trip. My buddy's getting married this month, and we all went out to Phoenix. Friday morning, we got up, and it had been our plan to go hike Camelback Mountain, which we did, which probably was not a good idea as I've learned, because it was steep and hot, and I'm glad that I brought a lot of water. We started hiking probably about 9:15, 9:20, somewhere around there. I know that because we left the house at 9. We start hiking, we get about halfway up the mountain, and I remember looking back down towards the base. And I saw a muscular gentleman with tattoos on his arms. He had no shirt on, he looked like an athlete. I would guess maybe 40 or 60 feet away, couldn't hear what they were saying, but it appeared to me that it was not a happy conversation, based on body language. They seemed to me to be kind of talking with their hands, and it appeared that there was some sort of disagreement. Not violent or anything like that, but they appeared to not be on the same page, at least from what I could tell by body language. And at that time, the gentleman proceeded up the mountain, and the female turned around and appeared to go down the mountain. And I say she went down the mountain because a few minutes later, when I looked back down, she was no longer visible. And the reason that this interaction stuck out, it would not have stuck out after those two interacted and they split up. The big muscular gentleman came up towards me and passed me. I spoke to him and he ignored me, which was different because everybody else that I have spoken to on the trail was really nice and friendly, and he just ignored me. That's why I remember him. Anyway, he proceeds on up the mountain. I don't see him again so we summit the mountain at 11. We head back down the mountain and we get to the base. In two separate groups, me and my friends got down at about, I want to say, around 12:20 to 12:25. The first group got to the base between 12:05 and 12:10. And when we got down there, the gentleman, who is big and muscular, was at the base of the mountain by himself. He was just sort of pacing around, not talking to anybody. We sat there hydrating and cooling off, and eventually, 10 minutes after I gotten down there, he approached us and asked us if we have seen a girl in a black tank top and black shorts, or black yoga pants. And we were like, yeah, we saw 20 other girls like that, 'cause that's what everyone was wearing. But I remembered him, so I remembered the girl he was talking about. And he told us that he didn't know where she was, couldn't find her, and had been trying to call her for the last hour, but could not get her on the phone. We said, we haven't seen her, sorry, wish we could help. And then, unsolicited, he was like, yeah, she is not my girlfriend. She's just some girl from out of town. Which, in the moment, I find it kind of odd because nobody asked who she was or anything like that. And he just started telling us that he didn't really know her that well. She was just some girl from out of town. So that seemed a little strange. We started going back through our pictures, just looking at everything that we have taken from the hike. We just by chance have a picture of the moment that they had that conversation on the mountain, splitting up and went separate ways. The picture was taken at 10:36 a.m. I can tell you that he was at the base of the mountain at least by noon, because when we got to the bottom, he was already there. Detective Winter, did you see him past you coming down the hill? Witness, no, I don't remember seeing him come back down, and I asked everybody else in my group if they saw him come back down, and nobody else remembers seeing that either.
In the interview that you guys saw with Nancy, she thinks that there was an argument, as well as what the witness had said. If there really was an argument or any type of disagreement, what were they arguing or disagreeing about? I find it odd as well when the witness said that Dario brought up that Angela was not his girlfriend, that she's just some girl from out of town. You would think, in that moment when you realize that the person that flew out to see you is suddenly missing, that those words wouldn't even matter.
Witness, I don't remember the exact time I pulled in, but I would tell you that it wasn't later than 9:30 and it wasn't earlier than 8:30. And I pulled in at the exact same time, about 3 spots from this couple. And for some reason, and this is the part that still gives me chills up my spine, I saw them, I noticed her, I noticed him, and I remember walking towards the trailhead at the exact same time that they walked. And I remember thinking to myself, I wonder how this girl is going to do on the mountain today. She looked very athletic. She was dressed in all black. He was a very athletic guy. I had never seen him before, although I do hear that he does hike the mountain. I remember thinking, I wonder how they are going to do today. And I usually don't think that about people. That's what's kind of messing my mind about this whole deal. I went into the bathroom and they started up the trail. And let's just call it 9 o'clock for timeline's sakes. I went up the mountain after them, and I passed them probably 200-300 yards up the mountain, and it's a decent cliff, nothing crazy. I should say when they went up the mountain, they were smiling. I mean, they were happy. I could tell that girl was happy to be there, that guy was happy to be with her. I followed them up. I started after them. I passed them going up the mountain, and I go up there pretty quick. And I went up to the top of the mountain. I passed them probably 200 yards up the mountain. I started heading back down the mountain, and for some reason I saw this guy. Me and him passed right by each other. I recognized him just from the mountain, and I made a comment in my mind. Where's his girlfriend? I saw them at the bottom. They are not together. He's doing pretty good. I run down the mountain pretty fast. I saw him by himself. 5 or 6 minutes later, I got to a point where I'm going to call it almost exactly halfway down the mountain. He was probably 3/4 of the way up the mountain when I saw him, and I'm going to say she was not quite halfway up the mountain when I saw her. She was going down in the other direction, so she was 1/4 of the mountain behind him going down. Detective Long, he was 3/4, she was close to the halfway point from my understanding. Witness, close to the halfway point, she was, I can't tell you the exact marker she was at. I can point the spot out to anybody, because I saw her. I remember seeing her, and she was sitting on her butt. She wasn't sitting on her butt like she was struggling. She was sitting on her butt like she was trying to get down the rocks. And she was moving down the rocks like somebody that never done the mountain before. She was trying to find her way down the mountain, and I said to her, and I don't know if she heard this, but she did acknowledge me. I said, "You had enough, huh?" And she didn't say anything to me. She kind of looked up at my direction, didn't say anything. She didn't look like there was no reason for me to think that she was in a bad tense at that point. I went all the way down. We'll call it another halfway down. I turned around and went back up the mountain. As I went back up, I saw her again. And this time she didn't look as good, but there was still nothing really to set me off to think this is a person in distress. Because I've seen people in distress there. She didn't look great. She looked like someone trying to find a way down. I'm going back up and I see her, and I can point out the exact rock that I saw her climb up on. She climbed up on this little rock. It was a little alcove where the rock is kind of eroded away, where almost you can make a cave, and she sat on that rock. I looked at her, and I don't know again if she heard me, but I kind of just looked at her and said, "You alright?" And I felt like she smiled at me. So I moved up the mountain and I came back down. I'm not thinking of it, but ironically, in the parking lot, as I'm walking to my car, I see the boyfriend again, who is now in the parking lot, and he's walking back towards the trailhead. And I think to myself, and this is the part that's kind of keeping me up at night, I think to myself, you should tell him that you saw his girlfriend on that rock. I see him walking back towards the mountain. I didn't think anything of it. I went home. The next morning, I got up and did the mountain again. The same time, and I happened to run into a friend of mine who is standing right at the fence where there's a hole in the fence. There's only one hole in the fence along this whole stretch. And I look at my buddy and I go, "What are you doing?" And he said this must have been where the girl crawled through to try and go to that house, because apparently she went to a house. And I go, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "Well, that girl that died yesterday went through this hole in the fence." The hole in the fence that I saw my buddy standing by was directly across from the trail where I saw her sit. I literally can point it to anybody. I can take you up and say I saw her here 10 yards across the trail. There's a hole in the fence. It's not a hole, it's like where the fence just doesn't come all the way down to the ground. Detective Long, right, like an opening. Witness, like an opening, somebody could crawl under it, but it's the only spot on that whole fence that runs all along that bottom of the trail, where you could get on the other side of the fence. You have to crawl under that hole in the fence. As soon as he told me that, I was like, I saw that girl. I saw her yesterday. Detective Long, yeah. Witness, I made a gesture to her. She did not seem what I would consider like she was that bad, but when I looked at her and said, "Are you okay?" and she smiled at me, I don't know what her stage could be. I could tell you, she was sitting the last time I saw her, directly across from what I'm going to say, the way she decided to go towards that house. Because when you look through that fence, you can see a house right there. And to somebody that doesn't know the trail, that would seem like the best way to go. But she was far enough down that I would never think somebody's not going to make it. I'm going to say that hole in the fence is less than a third away up the mountain.
Now, there's been two things that have been said of where she got off trail. One of them is they believe that she went around a fence that has an opening gap. The other one that has been said is that she crawled underneath a fence.
Now, this is the actual picture of where she apparently crawled underneath the fence. Like, who knows if she actually went underneath, because in her autopsy, even when her body was found, they never said that she had any dirt on her knees, because if she crawled underneath this fence, she would have dirt marks on her. But all they said was that she had scratches on her lower part of her legs and she had red abrasions on her knees. So, like I said, I have no idea what the actual truth of this is. What is red abrasion? An abrasion occurs when your skin rubs or scrapes against a rough or hard surface. This spot was the last place where Angela was last seen. As you can see, there is a little alcove where you can kind of crawl up under to get some shade. Where the finger is pointing, that's where Angela was at.
This is a video that shows you where Angela apparently went underneath the fence. There's rocks covering that part now. The video is a little blurry, but I will show you guys a better picture of what the fence looks like.
This is the second rock I saw her sitting on as I was coming back up, probably 15 or 20 minutes after I saw her the first time. This fence was open. They've since filled it with rocks. I don't know that she went under there, but there's some houses down there.
This isn't the actual picture, but there is an alcove where she crawled underneath, and there's a fence where she apparently crawled under.
This is the rock she was sliding down when I saw her, just above mile marker 16.
Now, this is the part where the witness said that Angela was using her butt to go down the rocks. Now, this is the exact rock where she was seen sliding down her butt, trying to go down the rocks.
In this interview with Detective Winter talking to Nancy and Eddie over the phone, he's just giving them the basic timeline up until Angela's discovery.
Detective Winter, I have a lot of experience investigating incidents that happen in and around the Camelback Mountain hiking trails. I'm going to go over just some basic timeline of events. Angela was out here with Dario and they went to go hiking this morning. They end up going to Echo Canyon, which is an extremely popular hiking location. of one of the most difficult hikes in North America. Very challenging even in the most ideal weather conditions. They leave at about 10 o'clock and start heading up towards the mountain. For most people hiking this casual hike, this is probably 2.5 to 3 hour round trip hike. It's almost a mile in length. They made it to about the 2/3 of the waypoint up the mountain, and they talked to a few other hikers, asked about how long it was going to be. And Angela told Dario, "I'm good right here, go to the top and take some pictures for me so I can post them to Instagram." He continued onto the top. Angela says, "I'm going to go down and wait by the car." They took no water with them to complete this hike. She heads back to the car, Dario finishes the hike, and Angela doesn't make it back to the car. Some of the trails up there, they're pretty well marked, so I don't know what circumstances led Angela to go off trail, but she did go off trail and into a neighborhood that is to the northeast of the actual trails. When I say off trail, we are talking out into Desert Mountain. So she sees a house down there. It's the first house. It's the highest house up the side of Echo Canyon on the northeast side, and she heads towards that. They have a very large swimming pool. Dario gets lost coming back down. He has never hiked Camelback either. He ends up going off trail and ending back on a road while trying to call Angela, sending her messages, calling her through Instagram, calling her phone, sending her text messages. I have his phone. He has shown me all the times he's been trying to call her and getting no response. He gets back down to the main trailhead parking lot and is asking all the hikers, have you seen her? He's showing her pictures. He's describing her. Everybody is saying no. He asked the park ranger if they seen her. They say no, and he calls 911, and they start the process with the fire department of Mountain and is searching for her. She's ultimately discovered through, and I'm sure you are aware of the pinging on her phone. To Find My iPhone, it was way more accurate than anything we were able to accomplish through public safety systems. We were getting 800-meter radius, about 2,500 square meters, which was giving us 1 mile, which is the entire Camelback Mountain. So that was not helpful. Angela did have her phone with her, and that's how she was located at this residence, in the backyard. The people who live at this home were away on vacation, and nobody was home. I have all of Angela's belongings that she came out here with. I picked them up from Dario's place, as well as a few things that she did have with her in the car, or as many things we could think to grab that were hers. Angela does have some scratches on her and some abrasions, which are consistent based on my experience with these investigations around the hiking trails of individuals who have gone off trail trying to get down towards the homes. Otherwise, she don't have any other injuries. Eddie. Okay, where the scrapes on her arms or legs? Detective Winter. Her arms and legs, which is consistent with what I've seen before. And out here in the desert, on the side of this mountain, it's cactus, it's burble bush, things with thorns. Our vegetation as well as our climate out here are very aggressive. Eddie. So there's no conflict with because he's a fellow officer? Detective Winter, no, absolutely not. One of the things I have not been able to locate in going through her items is I do not have her identification card. Eddie, you don't have her ID? Detective Winter, her ID or driver's license. I don't think it was with her. I have everything else. I have debit cards, I have her clothes, I have the 2 bags that she came with, and all her other personal effects, as it would seem, but I cannot find a driver's license. Eddie, her passport, no items like that? Detective Winter, I didn't see a passport and her personal belongings when going through an inventory. Nancy, she has to get on the plane with either her ID or passport. Homeowner, I'm just trying to rehash what you had told me and what the television had reported. I just think it's highly improbable that any person, let alone a woman who's apparent with heat problems and petite, could have come down from the Echo Canyon Trail and wound up on my pool deck. Detective Long, I will tell you this. Remember, your house is backed up against the Echo Canyon or Camelback Mountain. And although you have most of nature has that barrier, there is still possibility coming down from the mountain come down. So it is a possibility, and most likely what happened, that the lady had went through the opening and made her way down because she saw a pool of water and thought that she could get help. Homeowner, right. Have you tried to walk down that passageway? It is a challenge. Detective Long, yes. Homeowner, I couldn't do it. Detective Long, I will tell you this. I myself didn't go down, but she did sustain injury. Very consistent with falling down and going through brush. So it's not like she magically just appeared. There's no injuries, nothing like that. She struggled getting down. Homeowner, about 10 years ago or so, one of the neighbors who was the people below us who had a visit from a relative who was mentally disturbed got out of the house and tried to climb from Aloe Verde up where the lady came down. He wanted to go up, he never got nearly halfway. When he fell, he was all cut up. The police had to come and help him down, and it's just very hostile terrain, and she must have been just panicked or something or pumped with adrenaline to have completed that. Detective Long, the reason I was actually calling is I remember that you mentioned that your grandson was over on the property yesterday. Is that correct? Homeowner, correct. Detective Long, okay, was he supposed to be staying there overnight?
In this picture right here of the outside of the home of 5200 East Salona Drive, apparently she was found by the pool deck. Now, in the condition she was in, she would not have been able to climb that fence. It's also been said that she was found in the rear walkway. If that was the case, you would think there would be some sort of head trauma during her fall before she collapsed.
In this picture, you can see the home where Angela was found, and above is Camelback Mountain, where Angela appeared to went off trail. When I'm describing something, I'm going to be putting a red arrow so you guys know what I am talking about during that time. As you can see, up on top is where the Camelback Mountain is at. You can see the trail line, and this is where the Prairie Monk Lookout is. There's a fence. You can't really see it. It's really hard to tell, but there's a fence right there where I just showed you. And this is where she apparently went around the fence to get to that blue house. But then it's been said that she went right here underneath a fence. But what I don't understand is, if she went to that house, she would have seen this house before she seen that house. So, and I'm not the only one that has been saying this. Her loved ones have been saying this. People that have heard about this case has been saying this. So, it makes you wonder what really happened during the time where Angela was apparently struggling. Nancy, I need to know who you basically are, what you do, and how you handle sketchy police officers. Because we have stuff you can't imagine about this police officer. And if you don't take him down, we will. And you can count on that, and we would like you to help. Detective Winter, I need you to take a deep breath. This is an information session. I'll be looking into all of the circumstances in regards to what happened with Angela. I don't know what the cause and manner of her passing is. Eddie, there's no physical evidence that would give you any indication. Detective Winter, no physical evidence. Eddie, no scratches, bruises. Detective Winter, scratches from going through the brush. Eddie, all over her body. Detective Winter, nope, over her lower legs. Eddie, over her lower legs, like she was hiking. Detective Winter, totally normal, her lower legs. Nancy, what is your association with Dario and Officer Reed? Detective Winter, he's been on a few of my crime scenes. I don't work with officers in the patrol. Nancy, why would a police officer during a brawl tell another police officer a fake name and not tell them that he was a police officer? Detective Winter, I'm not involved in any of the accusations or things that you are talking about. I'm focused on this incident. You're focused on him in the past. Nancy, is he working right now? Did he get time off for this? Detective Winter, I don't know. I'm not an administrator that makes those decisions. Eddie, so you don't know if he's on administrative leave or back on patrol? Detective Winter, I do not. That is not my job. My job is to investigate what happened to Angela. Nancy, but by investigating of what happened to Angela, you have to know him and the things he has done. Detective Winter, it has been barely over 24 hours since I started this, and I do not have all that information. I don't care what happens on television. I don't solve everything in an hour with commercial breaks. Nancy, I'm not talking about TV, I'm talking about Detective Winter. Nope, you are asking questions that there's no humanly possible way for me to have that information. Nancy, really? Because I got people back at home that have information. Detective Winter, I have me. I don't have an entire city investigating. An officer who at this stage of the investigation is a witness until I know otherwise. He gets treated just like anybody else. His terms of employment or where he works do not matter. Eddie, okay, I have some questions. Detective Winter, sure. I'm happy to answer questions. Eddie, Officer Dario, he's a first responder. That's his job. He's a patrolman. Detective Winter, he's a patrol officer. Eddie, he is trained on matters of heat exhaustion, and that's all our concern here is. If he is a trained officer, then why would he allow himself and a young female who he just met on the internet to go hiking up this mountain on a 110-degree day with her sneakers on, and neither one of them carried water? That just first makes no sense to him. As a human, why would he put himself in that situation? And to say neither one of them had water, I understand that you didn't find any water. Was there any traces of water that they could have had? Was there any water in his vehicle? Nancy, and then we have heard that there was hundreds of people there. Eddie, we contacted witnesses that were there that day on the trail. I can't wrap my head. That's one thing that doesn't sound right, because Angela carried around water with her 24/7. Nancy, a jug this big. Eddie, always. She's a gym nut. So that being said, you have no evidence that you couldn't find any water or anything? No? What about her phone? Now you said her phone was on her location? Detective Winter, yes. Eddie, it was in her shirt? Detective Winter, yes. Nancy, where she doesn't wear it. Eddie, okay. Keys to his vehicle, you stated that he stated they were walking halfway up the mountain, and then she decided she was fatigued and she told him, "You keep going, I'll walk down the mountain by myself." That's what his statement is. Detective Winter, yes. I'm going back to the car. Will you go to the top and take pictures to give me for my Instagram? Eddie, did he give her the keys to his car? Detective Winter, no. He still had them. Eddie, so how is she going to get in his car? Detective Winter, I don't know that she was going to get in the car. There was water down at the base, and I still need to transcribe his interview to have the full details. Eddie, yeah, that makes no sense. So she says she's going back to a car that is locked? Nancy, that's not my daughter. Eddie, her phone was on and it was operating, so why wouldn't she call someone? Nancy, if my daughter was in distress, she tells everyone everything. Eddie, she has a health app on her phone. I don't know if officer has the same, but it records where you go. It records how many steps you take through your Apple Watch. I don't know if you are familiar with that. Detective Winter, I am. Eddie, but it's called a health app. Now when you download her phone, I want you to please check that, because it will determine if she was sitting behind the house for 5 hours with her phone, or she was walking up the mountain and down the mountain. The phone will record all that, and it will be evidence, so we want to make sure if they were hiking together. You have his phone? Detective Winter, I have a copy of it. Eddie, so you don't have his phone? You have a copy of it? Detective Winter, of the actual device? Yes. Nancy, why haven't you gotten a copy of my Angela's? Detective Winter, because I don't have enough detectives to be able to get copy of all the phones. And I know you want everything done immediately. Nancy, I don't want everything done immediately. Detective Winter, you are asking questions that takes time. Nancy, but I'm asking questions that any mother who just lost a child. Eddie, he has his vehicle back? Detective Winter, yes. Eddie, it wasn't towed and searched or anything like that? Detective Winter, nope. I recovered Angela's property, both Detective Winter and Eddie, from his vehicle. Eddie, you yourself went into his vehicle and grabbed her stuff? Detective Winter, I can't go into the vehicle. I was standing by while he provided me her belongings. Eddie, so no one has searched his car? Detective Winter, no, and legally I have to have probable cause in addition to a crime that occurred in or around the vehicle in order to be able to search that. Nancy, do you have her wallet and credit cards? Detective Winter, I have 3 credit cards. I believe that the wallet had fallen out of her purse. 'Cause Dario tried to call me yesterday. I missed his call. I think he has it and is trying to get it to me. Nancy, how convenient. Detective Winter, okay, we need to take a deep breath, Miss Tramonte. This is extremely confrontational and not helpful. I'm doing everything that I can to have all of the answers around the circumstances for the cause and manner and everything in relation to Angela's death. Eddie, she had to have her license, and she uses her passport to travel. She travels a lot, so it's gotta be somewhere. It just didn't disappear. She wouldn't have been able to go home without it. Detective Winter, understand. Nancy, I know you think that I'm confrontational, but I'm not. But let me just put into your head to think that maybe I'm going to have somebody realize or help me to put this to rest for me. Do you know that he sent my daughter saying that being handsome and a cop can get away with murder? Detective Winter, ma'am, I haven't gone through the device yet. Nancy, I would love to be able to know that I can say to people, the police officers that we've been in contact with, that this guy really is one of the good guys. Because right now, I'm not finding anybody that is a good guy down here, that is understanding the pain I'm going through, that had a healthy 31-year-old daughter, that was going to compete in weightlifting competitions. And when you see that on Instagram that she's showing the scenery of your mountains, no, she would have put her face and she would have been talking in the scenery of those mountains. She calls everybody 24/7 if she was in a jam. Eddie, I'll reach out for help. Nancy, and she would have left on the other end, but she would have stayed on the phone with these girls, or they would have called 911 to get somebody to her. This is what I mean about my daughter. We knew where she was 24/7, and when you or somebody was asking, I don't even know what officer it was. Do I know this? Do I have access to her code-password? This and that? I don't. I'm her mom. Her girlfriends have everything. So now they are on a rampage because they lost a wonderful person who did not deserve to be here. And they're going to find a way. They're not going to stop. But I need to know that I can say, call Officer Winter. He's there for us. Because right now I'm finding not that. Because when Officer Reed was on the phone with me, Nancy on Friday saying my daughter was missing and this and that. And the next thing I know, Eddie, he said that they found her and then hung up the phone. Nancy, and he never called me back. I started calling Arizona State Police. They got in touch with these people. I mean, it's ridiculous. Still to this day, Officer Reed has never returned a phone call to me after saying something like that. Detective Winter, I understand. Nancy, and Dario turned off his phone on me, and Dario also took himself off of my daughter's accounts. That he was on Facebook, Instagram, the girls already found all that out. Why? What are you guilty of? I just want the truth because this didn't need to happen to her. Detective Winter, Mrs. Tramonte, I agree. This didn't need to happen, okay? My job is to get the truth. I've been doing this job for a long time. I don't get emotionally attached. I don't want that to come across as cold, okay? Eddie, there should be cameras, obviously, if they went on a hike together. There will be camera footage of him coming out of his apartment complex because there's cameras everywhere. Eddie, where he lives because she was staying at his house. Now remember they met on the internet. Detective Winter, yes. Eddie, this is the first time she's ever met him. Detective Winter, yes. Eddie, they weren't boyfriend and girlfriend as he claims they are. This is a one-time encounter. Detective Winter, yes, right. Eddie, I just want to make that clear. Nancy, so what is it you can tell us right now that you do know? Nothing? And I didn't mean that sarcastically. Detective Winter, I know, I understand, and I'm sorry for the sarcastic or the confrontational. I have to get myself into the mental adjustment mode for what it's worth. Talking to people from the West Coast, East Coast, we have very different communication styles. There's sections of this trail that have a fence that is curved at the top, so people can't get over it, and it has handrails because you have to pull yourself up. It's less hiking than mountain climbing. Nancy, I believe what you're saying, but I also know my daughter. If she was not feeling well or she thought she was lost, she would have called me laughing, telling her girlfriends or myself that she was lost, and I would have yelled at her. So she probably would have called her girlfriends and they would have gotten her help. And this is what we are saying, that none of this makes sense. My emotions and my anger, Detective Winter, I know. Nancy, I'm not going there. Eddie, deep breaths, deep breaths. Nancy, Officer Winter, there's something sketchy about all of this. And I need to know that something's truly going to be done. I don't care that he's a fellow police officer and that he wears a uniform. I don't care. I think he's a psychopath. Everything that we've seen and have. And I think it's sad that you have somebody like that here representing you, if you're one of the good guys. So Dario called the police at 1. Detective Winter, it goes to the fire department. Nancy, okay, at 1, but didn't call Angela or text her till 2:30. But I didn't get a phone call for 6 hours later. And that's when I said to Dario, when was the last time you saw my daughter? And he said 6 hours ago. 6 hours ago? You're a cop. That's just what I said to him. I said, you're a cop, you let her go by herself? Nancy, Officer Winter, nothing makes sense. Eddie, so he's the one that called the fire department himself? Detective Winter, yes. Nancy, so let me ask you, like you said, he gave you her stuff? Detective Winter, yes. Nancy, well, what if he kept some stuff at his apartment? Detective Winter, nope, I went into the apartment and got it. Nancy, did you check? Detective Winter, yes. Nancy, you scoured the apartment? Detective Winter, I can't search his apartment. Again, under the laws, her stuff was still in her bag. Her curling iron was in the bathroom, and I gathered everything up. He was like, this is hers, and she got this in the bathroom. Nancy, well, what about going through rubbish? Detective Winter, nope. Nancy, what if he threw stuff out? Detective Winter, I can't just go through everything. Eddie, he wasn't a suspect right then. You can't just start searching his house. I understand. In this meme, it says, every girl wants to be swept off her feet. It's when you put her in the trunk, that's when she starts to freak out. And Angela replied back with, stop. I'm so scared, LMAO. You could be a killer, LOL. Promise me you are normal. I never done this before, but you seem good. We talk a lot, LOL. Detective Winter, Dario. One thing I said before I started the recording is, in your employment information, you do work for the Phoenix Police Department. And I'm just going to treat you like anybody that I would. Respecting, care, considerations, everything else, and trying to figure out the facts, background, and Dario, absolutely. Detective Winter, any circumstances or information that can help clarify what may have occurred. Okay? Dario, Detective Winter, other than explaining that to you, have I asked you any other questions? Dario, I'm sorry? Detective Winter, have I asked you any other questions about what happened? No. Detective Winter, okay, so we're out here at Camelback Mountain, Echo Canyon Park. And let's start with, who were you out here hiking with? Dario, Angela Tramonte. Detective Winter, and who is Angela to you? Dario, she's a friend. We've been talking for a long period of time. Yesterday, she came from out of town from Boston. I picked her up from the airport. We spent all day together and started off our day here. Detective Winter, you picked her up yesterday at the airport? Dario, yes sir, 9:45 a.m. Detective Winter, and you spent yesterday together? Dario, well, she's staying at my place. Detective Winter, okay, and you came out here to hike today? Dario, I mean, if I can start from the beginning. Detective Winter, yeah. Please start from the beginning. Dario, we came here yesterday to hike. We came to the opposite side. We were going because we never been here before, and I didn't even want to go hiking. Like, for some reason, all the people that come from out of town, they look it up and everyone wants to come here and hike. Because for some reason, this is like the attraction in Phoenix, Camelback Mountain. So she wanted to come here. We went to the opposite side. It was closed. So we thought maybe they closed it. And we looked up online. There was some type of explanation of why they closed it. Today we decided, look, we're just going to go hike at 7 feet at Thunderbird because that's where I used to hike when I was younger. Detective Winter, okay. And it's so different because I'm familiar with that area and we were just going to do that. And we're planning on doing something else. We were going to spend the day at the pool at our hotel in Desert Ridge. So after that, here, she goes like, why don't I just look up online, see maybe they opened it up. Maybe there was a coincidence that they opened this place up today. She couldn't find anything looking it up on her phone. She literally wanted to come here. She was like insisting. And then she finds this information number. She calls, some guy answers, and she goes like, "You guys were on the wrong side the day before." And he gave us this address, so we put it in GPS. We came here, found it, and I would say around 10 o'clock is when we got here. I don't think it was even close to 100 degrees outside. It was a little bit cloudy, the sun wasn't really out. She had a lot of water before we started going up, and she didn't want to take any water up. She said if she needs to go back, she's going to turn around and go back. She's fit. We talk about fitness all the time. She's small. She's skinny. She's in shape. Never mentioned anything about any medical conditions. And we were both going up the hill together, and I was going at her pace at the same time. And she, from the beginning, started taking pictures and immediately posting it on Instagram. Like videos and loop videos and stuff. And the plan was for her to make it all the way to the top, because she wanted to take videos and pictures of Phoenix from the top. We never made it to the top. I mean, she didn't. Maybe 2/3 or 3/4, I'm not sure. I can't give you the exact distance, but some guy was going down at that time. We asked how much longer to the top. He told us, "Oh, just this much." And she goes like, "Yeah, I'm just going to turn around." Because it started getting steeper, like there was more climbing, more using arms instead of just walking up. And there wasn't anything to hold on to. But she wasn't like, I don't think we even broke a sweat at that time because it wasn't as hot. It started turning hot around noon. And she didn't show any signs of exhaustion. She was not in distress. She was perfectly fine at the time. And so we talked. We agreed that I'm going to just keep continuing going up, and she's going to go all the way down. And once I go up, I was going to take pictures for her on top and send it to her so she can post it. And I don't care about the pictures or videos. I don't even care about this place. I didn't even want to come here in the first place. And so I made it. I got lost too. At first I got lost somewhere on that side, and I went back up. Then I ended up somewhere behind this mountain. So I just kept going down. It was so steep. I was like, oh yeah, I'm in the wrong. I took the wrong road. That's when I started sending her messages. I got it all in my phone. Detective Winter, okay. Dario. And like, I messed up. I'm somewhere. I'm completely lost. But I knew if I just keep going down, I'm going to end up somewhere. I know that I was going to make it down somewhere. So I kept going down, and it required a lot more climbing than it did on this side. And I even went through someone's backyard back there and made it to the street. So I looked at my phone to see where I'm at, but I sent her messages before that, and she never responded to those messages at that time. I think it was 11:45, I believe. So I finally found a street. I looked it up. My GPS somehow showed me the opposite side. Showed me 20 minutes from here walking. So I looked up, maybe I would just look up an Uber to see if there was any close by, so he can take me, because it was just 3 minutes with an Uber. Sure enough, I found one down the street. He picked me up and gave me a ride. I believe it was around 11:45. I would have to look it up because I'm pretty sure it was 11:45. He dropped me off here. I got out of the car and there was still enough time because I assumed it took me so long. It was so much longer on that side than it was through here. And I walked up here. There was a bunch of people over here sitting in the front, and I was expecting she was going to be sitting there waiting for me, because it took me so much longer than it should have if I came the right way. But it's where I left her. It wasn't like they have those rails, they have those fences, those guards. I would never think in my life that she would take the wrong turn. But I guess she did, just like I did. But the thing is, it's a lot more complicated when you go all the way on top than where I told her to go, to where we agreed on that she was going to go back, and there was still, at that time, there was so many more people going back and forth. So I got here, I started describing her to a T to all these people. Some of them I saw on top of the mountain. Some of them I even had pictures of them because they were on top of the mountain. Detective Winter, okay. Dario, when I took the pictures, did you guys pass by a girl like this, looking like this, and no one did? A bunch of people started coming down. I walked up to see if maybe she's there. I walked up a little to see if maybe she's just slow. Maybe she took a break somewhere. Blah blah. Every single person that passed by me, I asked them, described them, and asked them, and everyone was nice. Apologized, said no, I haven't seen anyone like that. So I was like so confusing, like how did you not see her if she was there, or where did she end up? I had no doubt that she was somewhere up there. Not like she left this area, period. Detective Winter, okay. Dario, and that was it. And then I just kept calling her so many times on Instagram. I called her on her phone, regular phone. There was no answer. She usually checks her phone constantly. I'm the kind of guy it takes a while to respond, but to her, if you send her a message, she will see it right away. She will respond right away, so I started getting worried. And that's when I walked up to a ranger. He happened to just walk up, pull up in his car. And I asked him, like, look, this is what's going on. What do you think I should do? You work here, so I was just asking for some advice before I called 911. Common sense to call 911. Detective Winter, yeah. Dario, so he goes like, I'll give it a minute, try calling her, maybe she was just taking a rest, she'll come down. I'm like, okay. I kept calling, asking more people if they'd seen this person. And then he talked to his supervisor and goes, yeah, she said to call 911 and something about rescue. So I immediately called 911, and that's when the fire department showed up and they made me. I was probably in better shape than those guys that went up there. So I wanted to go up there and search myself, but they didn't let me. They wanted me to stay here in case they have any questions. And I called her. Her mom called me, so I called her a million times, especially on Instagram. I called her so many times, and this is when I stopped at 3:55. Then I continued calling her cell phone just itself, and no answer. She never seen the messages, never read the messages. Sent one message, just shows delivered, but doesn't show. I just hope we could have gotten to her best friend sooner, because she had the location on her phone, but we didn't. Took forever, so. Detective Winter, when did you start trying to call her? Dario, as soon as I got here. Detective Winter, okay, as soon as you got back to the base and she wasn't here? Dario, yeah. Detective Winter, so around 11:45? Dario, let me see, around, yes, 1:20 is when I thought. I was lost. It was around 12 o'clock, so 11:45 is when I got picked up and dropped off. So it took a few minutes to get here, so just take 10 minutes, 5 minutes maybe for me to give her her first call. And after that I kept calling on here, because we communicate through Instagram, usually. But then I have her phone number too, so I started calling her phone number and I just kept blowing up her phone. Calling her constantly and just no answer. She never shared her location. We never talked about it. This is the last thing. Detective Winter, you said your last call was at 3-something? Dario, on Instagram. Kept calling her after, let me see which number she is, cause her mom kept calling me too. Here, 3:54. It looks like the last time. But I called her constantly through the whole day, and once they had control of the scene, that's when I stopped calling. Detective Winter, alright, you said you've been talking to her for a while. About how long? Dario, I would have to go back to the messages, but it's been months. Detective Winter, months? Dario, every single day, all day long. Literally. Detective Winter, okay, Dario, and she decided she was insisting to come here. I should have said no. What if, Then she decided to come yesterday, and here we are. The guilt I feel is unbearable. And it's if I had to choose, I rather wish it was me than her, but didn't even think about it twice. I just wish she called me, called 911, called someone, did something. Detective Winter, and you said you never hiked Camelback? Dario, no Camelback, this is the first time here today. I didn't know anything about this place besides the name. I usually go hike up 59th Avenue in Pinnacle, and she wanted to come here like bad. And I just wanted to take her, show her something she wanted to see, that's about it. Detective Winter, that 59th Avenue at Pinnacle Peak? Dario, yep, that's where I. Detective Winter, is that Thunderbird Mountain? Dario, yeah, and I'm in good shape, and we talk about fitness, cardio. She does a lot of cardio. This is completely unexpected. I don't know why. She showed no signs of trouble at all. I just wish, let me go up there, look for her, and I felt useless just waiting there, hoping that nothing's gonna happen. Detective Winter, so she never called you? Dario, no she didn't. Detective Winter, okay, you say you talked to her mom? Dario, she called me and I kinda briefly explained what happened, and soon as Mom started accusing me, saying stuff, blaming me for everything. And I'm like, okay, you guys. Like, I told her, like, look, I'm sorry, but you are gonna have to talk to an officer, someone on scene. And we ended the call, and then she continued calling me after that. And I just turned off the phone. Detective Winter, okay. Dario, I just turned it back on right now, because I figured an unofficial should, who's on unofficial duty right now, should talk to her, not me. I shouldn't be giving her any information. Detective Winter, sure. Dario, and plus the way I felt at that time was once they told me what happened, I don't know how to explain it. I was crying for hours. I haven't cried since I was a kid, and something could have been avoided or cannot blame yourself for it, Detective Winter, when you called 911, did you get fire or did it go to police? Dario, police. Then I was transferred to fire, and the address I gave you, that's where I get all my mail. That's my main house. But I live in downtown Phoenix, and I'm not probably gonna stay there for a while. Detective Winter, oh, Dario, if at all, because I just don't want to go back for now. And that's the best place to find me and get a hold of me. Detective Winter, okay, I understand that Angela was staying with you? Dario, Detective Winter, she had all her property, her bags, and stuff with you? Dario, yes, still there. Detective Winter, what we would like to do is we would like to get that so we can, and we will go and coordinate with the family. Dario, okay, yeah, I understand how her mom feels, and I probably would feel the same way. And I don't blame her at all. Her dad died a couple of years, so Detective Winter will want to coordinate that. Does she have any property here with you that's in your car? Dario, yes, she has her purse. Detective Winter, okay. Dario, we were gonna hang out there all day and go out somewhere else tonight. Like everything was planned out. Tomorrow I was supposed to have some training and didn't want to find an excuse to, take it off. She was fine with it, so I was gonna go do that training at the academy, and she was gonna hang out at my pool, at my complex downtown, and this happened. Detective Winter, oh, I understand. One of the things that I like to do to help put together a timeline is get the information added to the phone. I can do that one or two ways. Dario, whatever you have to do, you can have it now if you wanna. Detective Winter, okay. Dario, and I can see, this is the last 3 messages I sent her. So, fitness, medical-wise, there was no issues. She showed there was no trouble. I assume she's going to come straight down and just wait down there. I just wished I just turned around and vented to her. Who cares about those pictures on top of the mountain? We talked for so long. There was so many months, you won't find a single message where we fought about anything. She's such a nice girl. It's the only person I talked to. If I needed someone to talk to, it was her. It was just not a single bad thing you were going to find between me and her. Fight-wise, there was nothing. I told anyone from the beginning because they all asked. So many officers asked the same questions. I was like, here's my phone. Take it right now. Go through it. It will take you days to go through all the messages we sent to each other. So I'm just saying, whatever you guys got to do, Detective Winter, no, I will so. Dario, but I know you guys have your ways of doing things. Detective Winter, sure. I have some other night detectives who are helping me out here, and what they are going to do is, we'll get coordinated with them, and they are gonna put Angela's property in a temporary locker so they can give it back to her family. Dario, perfect. They found her phone so they can. Detective Winter, yep, found her phone. Dario, they can see everything we text each other, nothing to hide, and you guys got to go through steps. And Detective Winter, and just want to make sure. Dario, I just hope her mom understands. Detective Winter, and honestly, that's part of it, is that I want to make sure, not just for her mom, but for yourself as well. Dario, yeah.
The Maricopa County Medical Examiner's Office ruled Angela's death to be accidental on August 30th, 2021, and reported it was due to environmental heat exposure. Angela's autopsy raises a lot of questions. In other autopsy reports that I have viewed describing the same cause of death as Angela's, which is environmental heat exposure, those show what heat exposure autopsy should look like. Now with Angela's, that was not the case. Hers shows everything normal. I mean completely normal. You would think somewhere in that autopsy it would show what caused the heat exposure. But her heart, her lungs, her head, etc. was normal.
This is what a heat exposure autopsy should look like. As you can see, it shows the body temperature of what the temperature of the body was when it was found. And then it shows the outdoor temperature of what the temperature was like outdoors. Now in this screenshot, it shows you the clinical course, which is if you died at the scene, if you died a few days later, a couple days later, etc. And then it shows you the autopsy of what caused the heat exposure. And then you have your toxicology report and the cause of death. Now, Angela's autopsy did not show any of this. Like I said, everything was normal. Like I said, Angela's autopsy was completely normal. And you guys seen what a heat exposure autopsy should look like. So what is the medical examiner really hiding about Angela's autopsy?
Now it makes you wonder if the medical examiner just didn't do the autopsy correctly, or they just didn't care to do it at all. While I was doing my research, I found that people were concerned about her autopsy.
I truly believe if a private autopsy was performed, they would change the cause of death to something along the lines of strangulation. Autopsy finding marked red abrasions, but do not note where. Sounds to me like someone is not doing their job correctly and leaving information out that could lead to a possible unknown or homicide finding. This whole thing doesn't add up, and the conflicts of interest are blatantly obvious. Perhaps if we protested louder, something will be done. If not, this will be swept under their giant rug like so many before. Definitely need a second autopsy. This case mirrors a case about 40 miles from me, the Tyler Smith case. Evidence was messed with missing. Family was not allowed to see their deceased son. No real police investigation, and death was ruled as accident. No foul play per the coroner. Mom didn't give up, and finally state police did get involved. He was exhumed, and guess what? Ruled a homicide. So yes, coroners do lie for police. By the way, several police resigned immediately after investigation. In the post below is the Justice for Tyler Smith page. It says, well, imagine that. A response that the complaint I put in on the first autopsy has been denied. So sad, the first autopsy on Tyler had the cause of death wrong. Only spent 30 minutes on him and said no injuries. What about the 29 injuries found on his second autopsy? How is that acceptable? His cause of death missed. Is Angela's case similar to the Tyler Smith case? Comment down below your thoughts.
In autopsy reports, it has a section where it shows if you have any tattoos, scars, etc. But with Angela's, it only shows she had tattoos. But according to her family, she has a scar as well. One of her cousins said that Angela was in a car crash in high school and the car was wrapped around a pole, and the jaws of life had to take her out, and she was in the hospital for months. Her other cousin made a TikTok video. She brought up in the video about the autopsy report, and she said how Angela has a scar as well.
I'm sure people are wondering what's going on and where are the updates, and honestly I have none except for the fact that I did read the autopsy report and it is not consistent with someone that would have heat exhaustion. In fact, when they write down where you have markings, tattoos, and significant things on you, it just mentioned her tattoos. She was in a car accident when she was 16 years old. She has big scars on her thigh and on her arm, and neither of those were mentioned. So I reached out to them and I said, like, were you in thorough? And they were like extremely rude to me. So I felt that that was interesting to be rude to me about a question like that. But it's also concerning that if they're going to say that someone had heat exhaustion, why were their organs okay? Why was her heart not showing anything that heat exhaustion would do? Like, her organs showed nothing of heat exhaustion. I then recently got a message from someone. It's a screenshot of Dario's Venmo. I will put it in here. Alright, so I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I just find it kind of interesting because we all know what G means. What did you need 21 grams of that you're paying someone for?
Now, her autopsy also came with a toxicology report. It shows that she had 350 milligrams of amphetamine in her system. Now, according to her family, she is known to take that prescription.
Her family told 12 News she had a prescription for Adderall, which can produce high levels of amphetamine in the blood. Tramonte had 350 nanograms per milliliter of amphetamine in her system at the time of her death. Amphetamine is a central nervous system stimulant that is used in the treatment of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, narcolepsy, and obesity.
The same day that Angela's autopsy report was released, her mom Nancy went on Boston 25 News to share her grief and suspicions about the circumstances of her daughter's death.
If anybody knows my Angela, she carried a gallon of water with her 24/7. It was extremely hot. There's no way you could go outside without a bottled water. It's not the first trip my daughter has taken. I felt safe with her because she's a smart girl. But she got fooled by one person who wears a uniform and a badge. I'm empty. I'm missing my child.
Her loved ones can't picture that just the heat had taken her. They also believe that things off her phone have been deleted by Phoenix police, and that Dario probably had some buddies helping him out and is covering a lot of things. They are also questioning, what is Dario really lying about? And did he put something in her water?
On September 11th, there was a Justice for Angela benefit celebration. There was a live band, fundraisers. It looked like everybody was smiling, having a good time. Just all her loved ones in one room remembering Angela.
Angela's cousin, the one that made the TikTok videos, I want to show you guys the rest of the videos that she posted. The first video, she's explaining how hackers sent her pinpoints of the mountain.
I had someone reach out to me this morning telling me that they hike Camelback Mountain every single day, and it is virtually impossible for Angela to have gotten to 5200 East Solano Drive from the cliff. And this person was also nice enough to show me how it was impossible with pictures and notes. So let's look at those. So here you can see with the line, there's a railing and there's no access across there. And then the home where she was found is over here, all the way down there. There's no way to access over here, through here, and you have to stay on the trail, and it's all fenced. Here's a better view of how it's fenced. So basically you go down here and you have no choice but to stay on trail. So like, even if you are disoriented, like they're claiming she was, you know that you have to stay within these rails and these fences, right? Here you can see the home over here, and it's still fenced, and there's what I think are steps going down. So again, you know you have to stay on there. Like, where else would you go? Solid railings all the way through, as you can see, all the way here where I'm dragging myself across. It's all a railing, okay? So where's the access to get to this house where she was found? They say she wandered off trail. How? Again, here. The home is here. The person that said this to me notes that this is much steeper than it looks, as well as there's a small gap in the fence, but she would have had to go through loose rocks, bushes, and down a cliff to get to at least one other home before she got to East Solano. If she was looking for help, why didn't she just go to that home? Why did she end up at East Solano? She would have passed the other house. Okay, now we're closer to East Solano right here. There's a small gap here. There's still another home before you would even get to East Solano, so it still doesn't make any sense why she didn't go to that home if she was looking for help. And the parking lot is visible from behind where this picture is taken. So if she was looking for the parking lot, she wouldn't have had to wander off because she can literally see it, and it's 1/8 of a mile behind. Now this one's interesting. You got the home over here, up here in the corner. And then to avoid the cliff, you would end up at this house over here. Right here. Okay? And this cliff right here where this line is approximately 15 to 20 feet. Okay? No one is going to be climbing down that. It's a cliff. And this small gap, which is not obvious or easy to get to, is right here. We're only seeing it because it's being pointed out. This person also sent me a video of this area and how hard it was to get to there, so I'm going to post that in another video because I'm running out of time on this one.
The second video, Dario spotted with someone on August 24th, 2021.
September 24th, 21. This was sent to me. This is Dario Dizdar making out with a random girl at a concert after joking about how he isn't going to go to jail because he's...
Now Angela's cousin is explaining what Dario told the girl that made the video and what happened after the video was uploaded.
I recently told that Dario is aware of me making these videos, and I was told to go fuck myself as well as the rest of my family. Dario also went up to somebody in a public place, a female, and pushed her and accused her of giving me the video that I posted here, which he is wrong. That person did not give it to me. And first of all, you shouldn't touch a woman like that. So if you're capable of pushing a woman in a public place like that, then you're capable of murder. Quite simple. He also was overheard stating that he will not go to jail because he is a cop. That's not how that works, bud. He was also heard saying that it's her own fault that she's dead, and that he won't go to jail for what he did. And if he does, it will be in another country. What did you do then? Also, hi Dario, I know you're watching. How the fuck are ya?
I'm going to show you two screenshots of an email and what a lady had posted about how her granddaughter got pulled over by a cop just to ask for her Instagram. That cop was Dario Dizdar.
He is definitely a pathological liar. In June, he was at my home to aid in a peaceful transition of my grandchild during a visitation exchange, and instead of doing his job, he pulled the mother behind his patrol vehicle and asked for her Instagram and started following and messaging her. When I complained to his superiors on his inappropriate behavior while in uniform, he was questioned and denied and lied about everything, even though we had screenshots as proof. The PD said they would continue to investigate but never heard back. Here are the screenshots. The first photo shows the officer following her first at 7:54 p.m. The second photo shows her following the officer at 8:06 p.m. The third photo shows the officer no longer following her, going from 208 followers down to 207.
Angela's loved ones made a GoFundMe page to raise money to fly her back home and to hire a private investigator. 4 days later, after the incident, she was flown home. So far, they have raised over $70,000, and they need to raise a little bit more to hire the private investigator. If you would like to help donate, I'll put the link of the GoFundMe page in the description below. On July 30th, 2022, it marked a year since Angela has been gone. Her loved ones went to the beach and lit off lanterns, and a couple of them went to the gym where she used to go in her memory. Well, that's the end of the video. Thank you for taking the time and watching. Hopefully justice for Angela's loved ones happens soon. They deserve more answers than what they were given, and they just want to know what happened to Angela. I hope the investigation opens up again and is assigned to the right investigator this time. I did as much research as I could find, but if you realize during the video that I mentioned something wrong, then please let me know. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. If there's any update on Angela's case, then I will definitely let you guys know. If you would like for me to do another case or a different video, then comment down below what case you would like for me to cover or what video you would like to see me do next. Give the video a big thumbs up if you enjoy. Subscribe to my channel, it would mean a lot. Hopefully I see you guys in the next video. Bye!
Between me and you, I feel a chemistry. I won't let no one come and take your place.